This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Sharing the love, spreading the light in real time. Friday night love stream.
Very happy to have a guy we instantly resonated with. Unbiased and on the fence. I'm talking about Shane C. Robinson. And his purpose is to rise above the worldviews that are designed to separate us so we can unite as one.
Sometimes you have to sort of take a step back, and I think Unbiased and on the Fence is a really, really good title for your show, because you are in the central point when you're unbiased and on the fence. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're indecisive. It means you are taking the central point and you're seeing the multiple perspectives.
Unbiased and on the Fence.
If you haven't checked Unbiased on the Fence, go and check his channel out. You might like it.
From Unbiased on the Fence, Shane.
If this much sincerity enters your life, come to this much. What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. I don't believe anything, I don't disbelieve anything. I'm willing to look at everything. You will become a sensible human being.
Have you checked out our website?
Visit us on the web at uotf.net. You're listening to The Love Stream.
All around the world in real time.
I want to thank you for watching, listening, liking, subscribing, and for those who support this channel financially, thank you. Lots of love and light to everyone out there.
Your calls, your stories, on air. You're listening to The Love Stream.
Sharing the love and spreading the light all around the world. This is Unbiased and on the Fence.
Unbiased and on the Fence.
What is up, everybody? This is the last show of 2018. Really excited. Let's see. I've got Bikerbabe on the line. She's helping me out because I realized that the company that I use for the call-in show is down for maintenance for a while, and it just happened to the end of it's right on top of where our show normally is, and I didn't want to wait a whole hour to start, although I am running pretty late here. So let me bring Bikerbabe in. How are you, Bikerbabe?
I'm really good, Shane. How are you?
Doing wonderful. So what I was going to tell you, we were talking before the show, Jamie had sent me this video of someone's perspective on what's going on with the Mandela effect and everything, which, you know, I love the Mandela effect. I usually venture off in other things, but I totally love the topic, and I love new Mandela effects and all that stuff. But this guy was talking about, in this video, that he remembered there just being, as far as the JFK assassination, he remembered there being just JFK and Jackie in the back seat and a Secret Service agent. So 3 people in the front, or in the car, period, you know. And I was like, wait a minute, I remember the governor guy being in the front seat the whole time, and just his wife being a new person, and then the new Secret Service agent in the front seat next to the other driving Secret Service agent. So the new people to me were the wife of the Governor Connolly, and then in front of Governor Connolly was another Secret Service agent sitting next to the driver, where I remember Governor Connolly sitting at one time. How do you remember? Do you remember 3 or 4 originally in the car?
Me, I remember 4. I remember the driver and a Secret Service agent, and then Jackie and JFK in the back seat.
Oh, wow. So you don't remember the governor originally either, then?
No, not at all.
Wow, that is amazing. So, okay, so what I've been realizing as I've been working on this book that we're writing about the Mandela effect is that there seems to pop up 3 versions of things that, you know, anyway, the ones I've noticed. Some of them flip-flop back to the original, but it's still like a third shift in what it looks like or whatever. Like the Mona Lisa, for instance, she began smiling first for me, and then she got a hairnet, and then she got the bump next to her eye. So you got the original, the smiling. Well, actually, that's really 4 if you consider the original, I guess, isn't it? Let's see, hairnet. smile.
Yeah.
And then the bump. Did you see the one with the bump next to her eye on the side of her nose?
Yes, I did.
That's
yeah.
trippy. And what's funny is
Yeah.
I made that change, the smile thing, before the second two changes. The hairnet got added, and then the bump got added. So I was like zoomed way in on that. So I know there was no hairnet or a bump on the side of her eye. I would have noticed it because like her eye was the size of my whole screen while I was like photoshopping it and stuff. So there's no way that I could have possibly missed it. But there we have several versions, and then of course the thinker seemed like to me his hand was under his chin at first, and then or on his forehead originally. That's how I grew up knowing it. But then the first change it was under the chin, and now he's sucking on his knuckles. So there we have three versions of that. And when this guy was talking to he said he was talking to his dad, and he said, no, there's always been 6 people in the car, and he said that he didn't remember the governor being there originally. He was in the back in one of the trailing cars with his wife. So I was like, wow, that's weird. That's strange.
Mm-hmm. That's what I remember. I remember that definitely 4 people in the car. I don't remember any more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when you're talking about trippy stuff, probably The Last Supper is one of the trippiest ones for me. I have a tapestry of The Last Supper, and I watch Once Upon a Timeline quite often, and she follows that, and she follows the thinker and the Mona Lisa and a lot of the iconic paintings and statues and stuff like that. And it's unbelievable the changes that she points out. And for me to have this tapestry that I actually bought from a church, they were having a rummage sale, and they, you know, and it's beautiful. It's this big, beautiful Last Supper tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't look anything like what I remember. I mean, you know, they're showing their feet underneath the table and the big windows in the back, and I don't remember any of that at all.
Oh, so the window is new to you too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because for me, I don't hear people talk about that, but I'm like, dude, I thought it was nighttime. I wouldn't have felt like that if it was a big daytime scene in the back window. You know what I mean?
I know, isn't that crazy?
It is. That's crazy. And then the bread all over the place now. It's like, what the heck? Bread all scattered on the table. So your tapestry keeps changing.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But yeah, I love that tapestry. It's like it's almost like a rug or something you could hang on the wall or something. You could tell it's really old.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the Mandela effect is definitely my favorite. I can't get over some of the changes in the animals and the physical changes in us.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's such a fun topic, and like some of them I just have to laugh out loud at, like the horses. They got the mustaches now, and it's some of them are just so ridiculous you have to laugh at them, and it's like, wow, nobody notices it happening. Like, no, horses have always had mustaches, and that's equally as funny that people think that, you know. It's like, really?
Well, you know, that's so funny that you brought that up, because back when I was about 16 years old, my parents I had a pony, and my parents bought me a big quarter horse.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we were really into the 4-H stuff and going to the horse shows and stuff like that. And so they bought me this big, beautiful quarter horse. And we had him for, I want to say about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew a mustache.
Oh, wow. That is so wild. That's hilarious.
And I've never heard of it before, and I never heard about it after, until now. All of a sudden, there's horses with mustaches everywhere. I was like, oh, what?
Wow. Another thing with the horses is their eyes that have the sideways slit now. Do you remember your horse having it or not having it?
I don't remember. I want to say I thought their eye was more of a round.
Yeah.
Boy, strange how you forget things, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's just a lot of things I just, you know, it's not really a remembering as much as it catches my eye because it looks odd. Like different spellings of people's names that's changed. Like Jim Carrey gets me every time. I feel like, oh, somebody misspelled it and put 2 R's in it, because I just, you know, recognize it that way. I don't know if it's the artist in me that just sees it, you know, the way it looks, and it looks wrong now with the extra R in there. But when I first saw that, when I called up or emailed Deb from Butterfly Effect, actually her channel is something different now. I forgot what she changed it to, and she's like, I don't know about that one. I'm like, well, that's weird. And then I saw this old video I watched, and it changed in the video spelling and on the screen spelling, and I'm like, no way. And the video was still old. It wasn't like they just put out a new one or something like that. So, but yeah, the eyes now rotate in the socket as they walk, so that that slit stays parallel with the horizon. Which I'm like, dude, I would have heard about that. Their eyes rotating in their socket. That sounds so cool, and it's so they can see predators approaching.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of freaky.
Yeah.
Now I wish I still had my horse so I could see that.
Yeah. But for me, it was like they just had, like, their eyes look like ours, just bigger, just way bigger.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah.
But now it's almost like a sideways reptile, where instead of a up and down slit, it's a sideways slit. And I'm like, it's almost like almost a rectangular slit. It's not really, doesn't go to points on the end of it. Yeah, you guys have got to look that one up, because that one, I don't know, it just looks odd to me. And, I didn't see horses that often, but I would look into their eyes as a kid when we were on vacation and would go horseback riding. And I don't know, it's just so odd to me, some of these changes.
Now, see, I remember goats having those kind of irises.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have a goat when I was a kid, and that thing was the meanest thing ever, man. We had to keep him tied up because he would basically butt anybody that came near him.
Right.
But they had those weird-looking eyes, and he was just kind of creepy-looking,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really strange. And then all the new horses. There's golden horses and silver horses, and they're so beautiful. And what are the other ones? Those Gypsy Vanner horses? Those things are just absolutely spectacular. So I'm enjoying that. The new horses, new frogs, new snakes, new lizards.
Yeah. I miss a lot, but I love that Once Upon a Timeline. Eva, I guess her name is, I think. But yeah, I love her channel and all the stuff she goes into, and she seems to have such a great memory. It's like the opposite of me, because I have to really consider things, because I'm just not that observant with stuff. But it's nice to have her have such a great memory. And like, I didn't even notice my hands. I'm like, dude, our hands do look weird with our thumbs coming out so low, and and it's like, how did I not notice my hand change right in front of me? And, so that's just weird. So
the biggest one for me,
go ahead,
with her was Arctica.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Arctica? There was a northern ice cap that was actually a land continent, and there was the Arctic tundra, and there was polar bears and walruses and all these, and it was huge. It was like Antarctica, and it was, people don't remember that, and it took me a while to actually remember it. She talked about it several times, and I was like, racking my brain until it finally came to me that I started to remember it. And
I'm remembering it now as you're talking about it from school days. I remember, Arctica and Antarctica. That was like, polar opposites of each other, literally.
Exactly. 7 continents, and what were there, 7 oceans or 5 oceans or something like that? And now there's all kinds of oceans and seas, and I couldn't even name them all. I was going through Google Earth, and it was just mind-boggling how many different little oceans and seas, and what is it, the northern Atlantic and the southern Atlantic or Pacific, or I don't know. I'd have to take a look again, but
they've really divided them up now, huh?
Yeah, my computer's so outdated. I can't get Google Earth on here anymore.
Oh no, yeah.
And I got my volume up here too high there. I'm hearing myself talk, and it's annoying. Oh. Are you guys annoyed by me?
No, we don't hear the echo. It might have been my headphones going back into the mic or something, but I didn't hear it.
No, it was me.
Okay. So, so the geography changes. You saw that map that I had that changed, right? That I did a video on a long time ago?
Yeah, I think I've seen every one of your videos, Shane.
Okay. So yeah, I was flipped out because when people said that the geography had changed, I didn't really have. I mean, South America, sure, it looked like it had moved way to the right, but I just wasn't sure because of the way some maps seem to try to contour to make it look like, even though it's flat, that you're looking at it in a rounded way. So I wasn't sure if something like that was going on. But when I opened up that old file and I saw all of these new islands, I was like, wow, there was like dozens and dozens of new islands that it looked like I just ignored them when I was using that map as a guide or whatever. So there's a ton of islands everywhere as well that, I don't know. I kind of wondered at some point, did the sea level drop and just all of these started popping up? But, that wouldn't account for the way that map changed magically in this file that I have on this hidden layer, you know what I mean? So that's pretty weird.
Yeah, and then also Japan. I grew up with a friend of my father's married a woman from Japan who actually lived through the bombs, and she was from one of the southernmost islands where they had orange trees and it was tropical, and she married him and came to the States and spent great deals of time with us. And so we had spoken quite a few different times about, before she died, that we were going to go back and fly back to her island and meet her twin sister. And she said it was the second island directly below Japan. And when you look at the islands of Japan now, I couldn't find it in a million years. There's no way. There's too many islands there now.
Yeah.
When you're talking about all the islands, yes.
Yeah, there was a ton there, and then they even went onto the other side of the map where they should be connected, but sort of under Hawaii, there were all of these islands there, and there's a strip of them down. I don't know if it's in between India and Africa or to the left. I can't remember while I'm looking at it, but they were called the Maldives, and that's
the
where
Maldives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard that that's where those like 6-foot wingspan bats are. What'd they call those things? It was a Mandela effect. Nobody had heard of. I hadn't heard of them anyway. But it's weird that these islands pop up I haven't heard of with these animals on it that I haven't heard of, and it totally feels like we're on a different Earth sometimes.
It sure does. And you know what? I'm going to ask you and ask all of our listeners right now if they remember the state of Michigan being one piece of land. And the reason I'm asking that is because right now Upper Michigan, and I'm from Upper Michigan, is separated by the Mackinac Bridge. And you have to cross the Mackinac Bridge, and you have Lake Huron on one side and Lake Michigan on the other side, and then Lake Superior to the north. And so you have to cross the bridge to get down to Lower Michigan. And my daughter lives in Lower Michigan, so every so often I drive down there. It's like a 8-hour drive to go down to visit her down by Detroit. Now, I've heard several different people mention that they don't remember Michigan being split up into two pieces. And I always remember, Upper Michigan and Lower Michigan, other than the fact that back when I was about 12 years old, our 4-H club went on a trip down to Lower Michigan to Lansing, and I don't remember going over a bridge.
Wow,
so that's why I'm
looking.
curious.
I'm looking at the map here, and what's weird is I had one of those vinyl cutters that I would use to cut decals and stuff, and they come with like pre-made state shapes. So if somebody wanted like their state, and they were all single pieces, and I'm looking here now, and it's definitely two different pieces I would need to cut for the state of Michigan. And I don't, and that wasn't that long ago, like I guess a year before I realized the Mandela effect, so 2015 or something, when I was looking through all the states. And yeah, I would need to cut two pieces for Michigan now. That's weird.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm asking him what people remember, because me being from Michigan, in my brain, I don't remember ever going over that bridge until I was an adult, but I do remember going downstate. And for us, we're closer to Wisconsin. And so I've always done all my traveling down to Wisconsin and never really did a lot of downstate traveling. So it wasn't until I was an adult that I crossed that bridge. And we're always proud of our Mackinac Bridge because it's 7 miles long.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered what everybody else remembered. And I'm trying to jog my memory, just like I did with Arctica and Antarctica, to see if I could eventually, and it's starting to come into my brain that I don't remember that bridge. And I do remember Michigan being one piece at some point in time.
Yeah, when I think back, it was Hawaii was the only thing that was sort of the series of islands. Everything else was one piece,
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have like on your highway signs and stuff? Do you have the shape of the state on it, like most places do, like your interstate signs and stuff?
Now that I'm thinking about it, do we? No, we don't. No.
That's weird, because it would be weird to have two pieces on there. That's what I'm saying. That's how my brain thinks. I'm like, that'd be weird for those road signs to have two pieces, two shapes to make up one place, Because it seems like they would have just made it two different states in my mind,
And that's what we've talked about. There have been a lot of people from Upper Michigan that talk about, having our own state up here.
Yeah. That's wild stuff.
Because all the decisions, the large decisions about our state are made downstate. And so all the monies go downstate. Everything that positive that happens goes into the lower part of Michigan because it's the bigger part.
Yeah.
And we're kind of up here in the boonies.
Yeah. You guys deserve to be your own state up there. Looking at it, it's like it totally, or part of, is that Wisconsin? It seems like it would be more of what part of Wisconsin than part of the other big part of Michigan. That's strange.
I know, right? Yeah, that's what it looks like on the map. Yeah.
And you know what? As I'm looking at this, the Great Lakes, the shape of them, from what I remember, seems way different. Does Canada come down way further than it used to? Because
the Great Lakes are totally wrong.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
because it used to look like a claw, like reaching down, sort of, or something. Like I don't know. That it just doesn't quite. It looked like that. I don't know, that main lake in the middle. Which one is that? There, the one that separates the state. Is that Lake Michigan?
That's Michigan. Yeah.
It looked like the other ones were kind of that shape before, from what I remember. Different, but more like that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at this map, and this one is really crazy. Because the Mackinac Bridge, this map can't be right because it's showing Lake Superior. Lake Superior looks totally wrong to me. And if you're looking at the map of Upper Michigan, and they call it Upper Michigan looks like a deer and Lower Michigan looks like a mitten.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you're looking at the deer and there's a horn going up into Lake Superior, that's where I'm at, is right at the base of that horn.
Mm.
And it just looks completely wrong to me. And when I'm looking at this, okay, you come down. Wow, something really changed here. I'm looking at this map, and the bridge, okay, if you can see where Sault Ste. Marie is, and the bridge should be crossing right between Lake Huron and Lake Michigan, and it shows it going, holy cow, something is totally wrong here.
This is fun stuff.
It changed again. Wow.
I'm trying to, let me see here. I'm trying to pull up an image here so everybody doesn't have to go off on their own and find this, that they can look while we're talking about it. We'll move this to the top here.
Yeah, because it's looking like the bridge is going between Lake Huron and it's nowhere near Lake Michigan, and that is wrong.
This is wild stuff, isn't it? It never gets old. It's like as soon as you get bored of it, you look and you're like, oh, a bunch more stuff's changed. It's exciting stuff.
For it to change like overnight like that, because I was just down there. I was just down there, now let me see, a month ago? Yeah, it was about a month ago, and I'm looking at this, and this is just like, it doesn't even look like the bridge isn't in the right place. Lake Erie is too big. Lake Ontario is too big. Lake Huron is gotten really short and fat. Lake Superior has gotten really fat looking.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I remembered them all sort of looking like Lake Michigan, where they were sort of like long and narrow, but now it's like a huge, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't look like I remember. I guess Lake Huron seems wider. It's got that thumb on it, I don't remember, but I guess if it's always been a mitten, then it's, you know, the part of Michigan, the main part, then that's, I don't know. Does that seem longer, the thumb part of the mitten going in there? It seems like.
And the thumb part of the mitten doesn't even look right anymore, and Lake Huron doesn't look right at all.
Yeah.
And Lake Erie is way too big. Lake Erie and Lake Ontario are both, they were small lakes.
Yeah.
Lake Superior was the big one. Lake Michigan was long and skinny. Huron, Erie, and Ontario were all smaller.
Yeah.
So this doesn't even, no.
Is that other part, is the other part where it says Manitoulin Island, is that still Lake Huron over there too? Like, is that all still part of? Oh, okay. That's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't remember that either.
Yeah. That's the part that looks odd to me. All that extra water over on the other side of that island doesn't seem right.
Yeah, where it says Georgian Bay, that doesn't look right at all.
It's strange.
None of that. Mm-hmm.
And that's weird. Yeah. It's changing all around you, and you can't see it happen. You know, what's going on with that? How is that possible, you know? And it's like, that's what's weird about this whole thing. It's like if you're really close to something, you don't see it. It's like, you know, if you're a doctor and you're like, no, the heart, you know, the heart's in the middle of the chest, and the doctor's like, no, I remember being in school and learning about the heart being directly in the middle of the chest. They're slightly off to the left, but, you know, I remember learning that it was, they would say it's 3 finger widths below the left nipple is right where the heart is. And that's like sort of your way of judging. Now it's sort of above where, you know, the nipples are located in the middle of the chest, slightly to the left, but it's really pretty much right in the center between the lungs. Before it was like under your left lung. It wasn't in between the lungs at all. So that's just weird.
Oh, I have proof of that because my grandson had inverted chest, and so he went for surgery, and they cut you, you know, right above the breast or below the breastbone or the collarbones. They cut you wide open all the way down, just like for heart surgery. And they remove all the cartilage, and then they pop the chest cavity out, and they put a bar in there to pop the chest back out. And it's a horrible surgery, you know, just absolutely horrific. And when he came out of surgery, they had laid him in his bed, and because of the morphine, his body temperature was so high that they had the temperature turned way down in his room. They had fans blowing on him, and they had his shirt wide open. And I was sitting there with my ex-husband, you know, because this surgery was just horrible. And you could actually literally see the kid's heart in his chest. And it was right smack in the center, Shane.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and you could see his lungs working, and, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Within, like, 2 or 3 days, all the cartilage was growing back, and you couldn't see it anymore. And, in fact, they say that we can regenerate ribs, and I've heard stories of a guy who has needed bone transplants, and so they remove one of his lower ribs, and they rebuild his bone with that rib, and the rib grows back, and several weeks later they cut it out again and keep rebuilding the bone. I want to say, I think the other bone was in his leg, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But so this kid totally regenerated all the cartilage in his ribs, and he looks fantabulous. I'm telling you, he was so happy he had the surgery afterwards, but what a horrible thing for a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So anyway, I did see physically with my own eyes a heart centered right in the middle of the chest.
Wow. Yeah, and I'm actually, I pulled up a diagram and it shows it's like behind the left lung. So I don't know if this is actually residue or what, because it doesn't match up with a lot of the other ones I see. And I noticed that, you've probably heard about this with Eva on Once Upon a Timeline, but the liver is like huge and it's like 2 pieces now. I'm trying to find a picture of this.
Yes.
That's just weird for me to see it look like 2 different pieces. It wasn't ever that big, and it certainly wasn't 2 different pieces like this is.
And it's in your chest cavity. That's what's so crazy about it.
Yeah, it's actually the smaller side of it is right where I remember the heart being, pretty much, or at least it's taken up some of that space where the heart was.
Yes.
That's weird.
And then what was the other one I was going to mention about? The liver, the kidneys are up there in your chest cavity. Yeah, I love Eva. I watch all of her stuff, and it's just, she just blows my mind every week. She comes on Thursday nights, I think it is, or no, Wednesday night.
I think I miss her because she's on in the middle of the night sometimes, so I miss it. But I
3
try
in
to
the
catch
morning
it.
or something.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's good stuff. I love her channel. I wish she was a lot more known than what she is, because she really knows her stuff and she remembers stuff, and I don't know how she could be so knowledgeable about so much stuff like that and notice these little changes. She always impresses me.
Me too, and she remembers, oh yeah, that was 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, one of her last ones I saw, she was talking about something changing behind, I think it was a duck or something, started getting colors on it, or something was changing in her background. She was trying to show it behind, sitting some kind of, I don't know, piece of art or statue or something in her house that she's been watching it change. And I'm like, wow, I just don't pay that much attention to stuff. I'm surprised I could even see this Mandela effect, to be honest with you, because I just don't pay attention to stuff. That's why I say if I can see it, anybody can see it, because I don't pay attention very well at all.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and she did point out, or one of the channels pointed out, that we have more brain changes too. If you pull up a diagram of the brain, it just doesn't even look right at all.
Yeah, that's another thing, the brain. And the skull seem to sort of be weird with it, brain. Let me just pull up brain and see. Yeah, it seemed to have that, oh gosh, I thought there was a dip in it now. That's where the skull used to. See, I thought there had gotten a dip sort of on the top of your head, but it looks like, did it change again? It looks rounded now again.
Now, if you pull up the back of the skull, there's actually a weird little bump in the back of your skull, and you can feel it. There's a weird little bump back there, and there's also a weird little bump on your chin. And if you really press hard on your chin, you can feel this little strange bump on there. I'm rubbing my chin.
Yeah, me too. Now, I did notice the brain stem. I remember the spine connecting right at the back of the brain and the brain stem being right at the back of the brain. And when I look at it now, it's like, no, man, I know, because I'd be worried about my neck and stuff back there when the chiropractor was popping it when I was a teenager. And I was like, man, he's like right there on my brain, and kind of freaking out about it, because, it's just hard not to notice that. But now the spine connects in more in the center of your head. And I'm like, gosh, is whiplash even a thing anymore?
Right. And I had psychology in college, and I only had 1 year. And basically what we did was we studied the brain, and, I wish I had a better memory, like you said, with Once Upon a Timeline, Eva, because I'm looking at this brain, and it doesn't look like anything like we studied.
No.
And, I went to that class 5 days a week, for an hour every single morning. And I remember it because it was so early in the morning, and I was mad because I had to get out of bed.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's just crazy. I look at that, and it doesn't even look human to me.
Yeah.
Or is that just me? I don't know.
Right. Like I just pulled up, I typed in skull and spine, and like when I look at this, and it's just, it used to just connect further back than what I'm seeing here. And she mentioned something on one of her shows that people's necks are looking way longer than they used to, or something.
Yeah, and then also the spinal cord, or the whole skeleton all the way down your spine is much thicker. Yeah, look at it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I
watching
was thinking. Yeah, I'm like, man, that's way thicker than I remember.
I don't know. I think we look like aliens, and I'll tell you what: if we had this zombie apocalypse, how are we going to kill them zombies? You know, it's going to be like, what the heck?
Yeah, I did notice the width of it. The width of the neck and the spine. It seemed like it used to get narrower at the neck, and then start to get a little bit wider as it came down. Because I used to have to draw it in anatomy class in art school, and so I can kind of remember it. I mean, well, see, this kind of looks like it gets narrower, but it's just so hard to tell. But yeah, and then the rib cage itself is different, and I don't, I've said it on the show before that I had a crooked rib on one side, and my chest is completely symmetrical now. So it's like, I don't know when my body fixed itself, but that's just, and you know what? I just contacted my sister. I'm like, hey, do you remember that picture when I was a little boy? Because my mom took a picture of it when I must have been like 3 or 4 years old, and she had me like raise my arm up, and she where it really showed my ribs, and she took a picture from the front and the side, and I knew my sister still had those photo albums. So I'm like, hey, can you remember the picture? And she said, yeah, she did remember it. And I was like, all right, okay, same sister, And I'm like, okay, can you find that picture? And then she takes pictures of the inside of the photo album, and there's missing pictures in there. Now, I don't know if that's where it used to be, but she says it's not anywhere in here. And I'm like, that's not surprising, because it would have been pictures of perfectly fine ribs now. If I don't think it would have survived the change. I think it would have just either been fixed or the pictures disappear, like what happened,
Wow, that kind of freaks me out.
It's weird, huh?
Well,
and I often tell
now
people
we want to look through.
I mean, if you think about it, if you could take a time machine back in time, what would we see? I mean, it would be false memories, right? It would be like, this isn't the memory I had, if it was sort of a time traveling change sort of thing going on. Because the reality, if it matched our current reality, I don't know how that would be. That's interesting to consider, though. You know what I mean? I don't mean false memories in the way that they say false memories. I'm just saying we wouldn't see what we remembered seeing the first time through. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and it is. It's really trippy. You really freaked me out when you said that, because now I want to dig up all my old photo albums and take a look through some of them. One thing I did notice is one of my cousins just sent me some pictures she had gotten from my grandma when my grandma passed away a few years ago, and there are pictures of me in there. I don't recognize myself.
Oh, yeah? I've heard weird photo album stuff going on, so definitely everybody out there, check your photo albums, go back through. There might be people in pictures that you don't remember being there, and there might be people that are not there that you remember being there. And there's weird stuff like that I hear about when people go back through their photo albums. They'll look at a vacation and be like, well, no, so-and-so was there, and they're not there anymore. What happened, So weird stuff.
Wow.
Definitely check it out.
Yeah, I never had anything quite that freaky, but now I'm really anxious. I want to go through them.
Yeah. Let me see if they fixed the site yet. No, they didn't fix the site yet. I don't want to keep you here forever, but I was trying to see if they... I'm having a wonderful discussion with you. I love the topic of the Mandela effect. So, and you're not going to be here this weekend, so this is me getting to spend some time with you.
No, this is fine. I'm like enjoying this too, because this is my favorite stuff too, and I really like the physical changes. Yeah, I see that maintenance. We're undergoing some scheduled maintenance.
Yeah.
No, I'm enjoying this.
This is really cool.
Geez. Yeah. Mike just brought up the fact that I have to tell you about the orbs.
Oh, let's hear it. Yeah. Love the orb stuff.
Oh my God. I've been videoing the dogs off and on for like last couple weeks. And Christmas Day, I decided to video them. Well, I had videoed them and saw some orbs, and I don't know if I sent you the videos. I don't know. Did I?
I don't think so. I haven't
Okay,
gotten
well, I'm
anything
going to have
recently from you.
This is unbelievable, Shane. You wouldn't even believe these orbs in this house. So when the dogs are playing, there's orbs shooting all over the place. I've had orbs actually come, and I can't see them with my naked eye. I have to see them through the viewfinder of the camera.
Yeah.
They've actually come and they've actually floated in front of me, and then shoot it off, and they're shooting around the dogs, and it's almost like they're playing with the dogs, and the dogs are playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I've taken videos when the dogs are just laying still, and there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah. That's
so
wild stuff.
Christmas Day, Christmas Day, I took about 4 videos, and I even told Mike that Mike is my roommate. I told him that they're all around us. The dogs were playing, and I could see videos shooting all over the place. I think I posted it on Facebook on Consciousness Wave, if anybody wants to see them. And then I took a video when the dogs calmed down and they were laying down. There's absolutely nothing in the room. So, I mean, if anybody wants proof within, I want to say a half an hour or an hour at maybe the most of taking several different videos, they were totally gone. And they're so cool, Shane. They're shooting all over the place.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
it is.
I love the orb stuff. Actually, you remember Roger Prescott? We had him on a while back, and he always captures that stuff. I don't ever get the orbs. I'm like, oh man, I wish I could get some of this stuff. I see them with my naked eye out of the corner of my eye sometimes, like a flash or a streak or a shooting star. And, you know, sometimes I am looking at the sky, so it's always that question of, was that real, or was it a shooting star, or was it something else? But I see them in the house sometimes too, like sparkly things and, you know, orbs out of the corner of my eye. And as soon as I look, they're gone. So, but I never get to capture them on film, you know.
Yeah, it's funny, but I've watched your videos, and I remember that one you were sitting there and you went, oh, was that an orb? And I watched it fly through through your screen, so they like you too.
I think we did catch one during a live stream, wasn't it?
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
yes.
And I've seen
I went back and watched
Jose
it.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but what I've seen here is just they're shooting all over the place. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when your kids are playing, your grandkids or a pet, something, they seem to love the dogs.
Yeah.
And then I did also find out that the woman that owned the house here previous had died in the house, and I don't know if that might have something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
If her energy might still be here, or if it's just, honest to God, it looks like the orbs are playing with the dogs. It really does.
Yeah. And sometimes it seems like animals can see them. Even though we can't, it seems like they're looking at something, or sometimes it's creepy. It's like they're looking at something they don't like and stuff. But other times it looks like they're just being playful with something you can't see. And I think Jen from Jen's Gems has had stuff where her cat's like, you know, seems like it's following an orb around and stuff like that. So it happens. It's pretty cool stuff, though. And you have to wonder if they're seeing an orb or something else, too, you know?
Yeah, and little kids, too. My little granddaughter, when she was just a few months old, would always stare at one spot on the ceiling and smile at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wondered if she wasn't seeing an angel or an orb or something like that. But
yeah.
And also, my little dog, my little schnauzer, when they're playing like that and I'm getting the video of the orbs, every once in a while she'll stop dead in her tracks and she'll turn around and look at her butt like somebody's pinching her butt. So
or she's like, what's following me back there, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're chasing the dogs around and playing with them.
Yeah, and I wouldn't doubt, you know how dogs and cats can see in the dark? So I wouldn't be surprised if they can see a little bit wider of a range than what we can, and they're just able to see stuff we can't really see. And I think our eyes are changing, actually, and we're starting to see stuff more. I noticed that people were getting hexagonal eyes, like hexagon-shaped irises, or actually the pupils were shaped like that for a while. And I was like, kept checking the mirror. I'm like, man, am I going to change like that? Because it's kind of cool looking, but at the same time, it's kind of creepy. I don't know if that was misinformation or what, though. I don't remember Was actually, I think I heard it on Once Upon a Timeline when I first heard about it. So when she first started the channel.
Well, and that and the limbo rings. I think that I have the limbo rings now, where, you know, it's a little darker around the irises.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
mine too.
Yeah, and then my eyes turned almost like a seafoam green.
Mm-hmm.
They were always kind of a bluish green or grayish green or whatever you want to call it, and they were getting greener and greener, and I was looking in the mirror like, wow, that is just really strange. But then I'm also borderline on the redhead side, and also the RH negative, which they say that, you know, that all is part of the same package.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'd like to look more into that. I know my wife is, because she always had to get that shot or whatever, but I'm not sure about whether I am or not. But because you don't know, they always do the shots. If you don't know, they're like, well, if you don't know, then you better take the shot. And now, knowing what I know now, I would have found out and not taken the shot if, you know, because I just don't know. But that's back when I trusted more than I should have.
Right. Yeah, I don't trust any of them anymore.
Yeah,
you know, I'll have the respect, but I'm not trusting anybody with any shots or anything else anymore.
Yeah, and like they make you feel like you have to get those shots when you know, on your newborn babies. And then I just found out recently I saw in a comment of another video, the lady was like, no, you don't even have to take the ones in the hospital with your newborn. Don't let them take any of these immunizations. And and it's what's weird is you'll see like different things saying that you're putting all the kids at risk by not doing that. It's like, wait a minute, that makes no sense. If my kid gets polio and everyone else has had the polio vaccine, how is my kid putting the other kids at risk that have had the immunization shots? So their arguments they use for that whole thing don't even make sense. It's like, why are they lying about this? And someone was telling me that they're offering, like, to get your flu shot, they'll give you like a $5 store gift card if you get your flu shot at their store. I'm like, now they're trying to bribe you into getting it? That should tell you right away that you better stay away from it, you know?
Exactly, you know, and $5, I've heard $25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, you know, and I don't try to talk anybody out of it, but I'll tell you what, there is no way I'll get another flu shot, because it seems to me like every time I've ever gotten a flu shot, I got sick right away.
Mm-hmm.
And back in 2012, I came down with the flu, and that was one of the years I got the flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I almost think that I died, Shane.
Mm. Yeah, I know a lot of people feel like that. Is that when you started seeing reality changing?
I started seeing it, but I don't think I really accepted it until 2016.
Right.
And that was when somebody was seriously trying to wake me up. I was seeing 666 everywhere. I was working a job where I had to work with invoices.
Mm-hmm.
And the invoices were 666. The phone numbers, the people I had to call were 666. I saw license plates with 666. Everything had 666 on it. I was freaking out. I'm like, okay, Satan, coming to get me. I'm done for.
That is pretty freaky.
It was very freaky. And then I looked it up and I talked to a few different people, and they're like, no, you just have ascension symptoms.
Right.
And yeah. So then I looked up ascension symptoms, and I was like, okay, what is going on here? And then that was about the time I saw Once Upon a Timeline, when she was talking about the Arctica and Antarctica. And I was like, okay, this isn't my world anymore. Something's going on here. And so that was about the time I was starting to wake up. So I've been awake since August of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 17, and now we're into 18. So it's been, what, a year and a half?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah. And somebody was literally beating me on the head to wake up. So I believe it's something divine or something supernatural that was causing me to wake up, because wasn't seeing anything until, after months of seeing the 666, and somebody was scaring me or trying to scare me or freak me out or try to get me wake up somehow.
Yeah.
So that was my wake up call, 666. So if I send you $6.66, you know why. I'm not trying to be Satan.
Right. No, that's funny because I think a lot of that stuff is used to sort of scare us, whether it's like like I did the thing on the all-seeing eye or whatever not too long ago, and I think a lot of that stuff is taken and inverted in a way to sort of get people to feel fearful when they see those things. And but I don't know. I don't think, from my experience anyway, we don't need to be scared of any of that stuff. It's all designed to get the fear response out of us. I just feel like, I've been okay this whole time. Why give them what they want? I've been guided somehow to this point I'm at in life. So just sort of trust the process,
Right. And that's pretty much what I did. Once I realized what it was, I was like, okay, 666 isn't a bad thing. Mm-hmm. It isn't, Satan trying to wake me up or some devil trying to wake me up.
Right. Just don't get it on your forehead or hand and we'll be all right.
Exactly. And all the experiences that I had before then, I should have been paying attention. Like I said, I told the feather story, and I don't know if anybody remembers that, but the feather story where I was going through such a bad time and I was being shown feathers.
Yeah, I love that story. You should tell it again. It's not that long for people who haven't heard it.
Okay, I can do that.
Because you remember I had a synchronicity when I got that email from you telling the story where I was sitting in my car. I'll tell it after you tell your story because that was so cool. It was a confirmation that what you had just told me, was true and good, because I got my own sitting in the car smoking with the door open and it fell right on my lap. So I'll tell you, I'll go into that after you tell your story because it's a cool one.
Okay, will do. Okay, so I was having a really bad time. My life seemed like it was just, everything was going bad. And I was talking to one of the girls at work, and she said that she had read a book about angels. And she said, if you talk to your angels and ask them to show you a sign that they're there and they're there for you, that they will show you a sign. You just have to tell them what you want to see. And she said, I told them that I wanted to see a paper clip to prove that they're really there. And she said, Sharon, I see paper clips everywhere. So I was like, okay. I sat in the locker room after she left, and I said, okay, guys, I need to see something. I need some help here. I'm having a really bad time. Can you show me a feather? And she told me that you're going to forget that you asked. You're going to go about your business, and they'll show you. So I went about my business, and I had to go on a round. I work in a power plant, or I worked in a power plant, and I had to go around and take numbers, different readings and things, and I had to go into several different buildings. And so I went through the control room. I went out of the locker room, went into the control room, and I normally walk across a mezzanine to go over to where I needed to be to take my readings. And instead of doing that, for some reason, I just walked out the door and went down the stairs. And I never did that. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. I got to the bottom of the stairs. What am I doing here? Mm-hmm. Why didn't I walk across the mezzanine? And I got to the bottom of the stairs, and it was like somebody took their hands on either, I could feel hands on either side of my face. Mm-hmm. And it turned my face to the side and down. And I looked at the floor, and there was a feather on the floor, just mm-hmm. what I had asked to look for. And the only thing is the feather was dirty, and it was full of grease, and it was wet, and it looked all icky. But I was freaked out. I was like, okay, I asked my angels to see a feather, and here's this dirty old icky feather on the floor. And I went, okay, guys, I kind of got the goosebumps, the chills, and I said, okay, guys, I see this feather. But what I really wanted to see was a fluffy, beautiful, plumy-looking feather. And, you know, and I'm still all sad and bummed and all this stuff, and walking through the power plant and walked over into this other building where I had to take some readings. And I was walking behind an area where there's no way there could be anything there at all on the floor. And it was like somebody with their hands took both sides of my face again and turned my face to look at the floor, to the side and down. And there on the floor was this bright, plumy, white, beautiful feather. And I'll tell you what, guys, I was just like in tears. I couldn't even believe it. I had chills, and basically my angels showed me what I needed to see. And since then, every time I've had anything going on in my life, I see feathers. I see beautiful little plumy feathers, either floating in the air. I've seen them literally floating in the air, swirling around and around and around when there's no wind, and there's just feathers floating in the air. I've seen them on the ground, just unreal. So then, yeah, go ahead with your story, Shane.
So you send me this email, and I'm reading it, and then like I had to go somewhere that day, and I got back, and I was still smoking in the car, and I opened the door just because I turned the car off, you know, and I opened the door, and I'm sitting there in the car with the door open. And I just read that story, and in my lap, I see something fall like out of the corner of my eye through the open door onto my lap, and it's a beautiful little feather plume, white feather plume, sitting right on my lap. Right after you told me that story, I was like, it gave me chills. You know, it was like, she's for real. You know, I felt like it was, you know, your confirmation to your story, and it was mind blowing. And I love those. It's like synchronicities, you know.
Well, and when I first found you, Shane, remember, I emailed you right away, and I'm like, dude, I need to send my stories to somebody. Can I please start emailing you?
Yeah, and that's when I wanted to get you on. I'm like, you got to get on and tell some of these stories, because you got so many great stories like that. And that's sort of how we got on that topic. Did you read Suso's book by any chance? Did you get a chance to?
No, I didn't. I've just, oh, no.
Okay,
because
he goes over a lot of the stuff on his channel anyway, but in the book, he like it was cool to read through it and hear all of his stories again. But he kind of had that same instance where he felt like he had died, and like when you die, you don't really die. It's like you just shift into a different timeline where you didn't die or something like that. And I don't know. I think about that a lot. There's certain things that seem to go against that whole idea, but you know, that's sort of assuming things are a timeline, and it could just be like this, I don't know, soup of consciousness, and you're able to just remanifest in a way that it didn't happen or whatever. But a lot of your stories sounded like that, you know, like the one with the horse. Have you ever told the horse story?
I don't know if I have.
I think that was another one where...
Can I tell you this one first, though?
Yeah. Any of them's good. I love all your stories.
So I was telling my mom and I were having a conversation one day, and I said, Ma, you know what my earliest memory is? I can remember being held in the arms of this guy that was a family friend, him and his wife, and they were an older couple, and I said, I can remember being held in his arms. That was my earliest memory. Mm-hmm. And I remember laying back. I must have been a tiny baby, because he was holding me, and I was looking up into his face. Mm-hmm. And when I'm looking up into his face, I told my mom, I know he had some kind of cancer, because his nose, literally that center part of his nose was gone, and it was just like, you know, one big nostril. Because he had some kind of cancer that ate away that part of his nose. Mm-hmm. And my mom stopped in her tracks, and she turned around and looked at me, and she said, I hate to tell you this, but I'm pretty sure he was dead before you were born.
Oh, wow. Of cancer?
So, yeah, he died of cancer before I was born, but I remember him holding me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So could it have been pre-birth? You know, because I've often wondered if, like, my mom, who was passed away before my kids were born, if they get to sort of hold the grandbaby as it's coming into the earth or world, you know what I mean? And maybe have a recollection of before coming here or something like that. That's wild.
Yeah, I wonder about that sometimes because even to this day, I can see it as clear as clear as like I was there. I don't know how to explain it other than, that's one of my very first memory, and it's as clear as 2 minutes ago.
Right. That's wild. Yeah, I think my first memory is either in church or in the crib in a pitch black dark room, and all I could see was the alarm clock. And I think I was in my parents' room in a crib or something, but yeah, it's not anything cool like that.
Yeah. And then when I want to say I was maybe 7 years old, I remember my mother keeping me home from school because I had tonsillitis so bad that I remember her putting me in her bed, and it was a stormy winter day, and my mother didn't have a car. My father took the car and went to work, and so she didn't have a car. And I remember my mother coming into the room, and I remember I know I was choking to death. I know I was. And I remember her looking at me, and she just freaked. And I don't remember anything after that. I remember waking up in the hospital. I don't know how I got there. I don't remember anything beyond that. And I think I might have died then, too. And then when that horse I was telling you about with the mustache, he had issues. And when we bought him, we had bought him in the wintertime, and in the spring, we saddled him up. He was a big horse. He was huge. And my father saddled him up, and I was only, I don't know, I was young, 15, 16 years old whenever we got him. And we brought him out of the fence. My dad put me up into the saddle, and he let go of the horse for 1 minute. And that horse went right over backwards with me. It reared up and went right over backwards. And all I could remember is seeing the look on my father's face and the horror on his face. And then I remember I was laying on the side of the horse. And there is no way that I should have survived that. That horse should have crushed me. Right. And I remember laying on the side of the horse and my father just freaking out. So I don't know what happened there either.
But
I don't know if I died or not.
For sure, yeah. Should have been crushed.
Yeah.
And those horses, gosh, they're so tall. When you walk up to them, you don't realize how big a horse is until you see it in person, and you realize that, like, your eye level. Well, I'm tall, so I'm eye level with their back, and it's hard to get up on a horse, let alone, even one of those smaller ponies, it's sort of hard to get up on. But a full-size horse is huge, and, man, they're heavy. I don't know how much they weigh, but they got to be, like, I don't know, 1,000 pounds or something, at least.
Yeah, about 1,500 pounds, I want to say. And this one he was big. He was like, I want to say he was like 16 hands. He was huge.
Wow.
And so when he went over backwards, and with me being an inexperienced rider, there's no way I should have survived that. But I did. Yeah. Somehow. I don't know. I have a lot of strange experiences like that where,
didn't you have a pool
I probably should have drowned, or I probably should
Yeah. Yeah, I thought you had a pool one once too. It's been like over a year since I got those emails from you.
What was that other one?
In a swimming pool, wasn't it? Or was it in the lake? Or I think it was a swimming pool.
It was in a swimming pool. I was a Girl Scout, and all of us Girl Scouts had gone swimming. I don't remember where the pool was, if it was at a local hotel or the college, or exactly where it was. And one of my girlfriends really couldn't swim, but she wanted to go off the diving board. And so we were like, yeah, go ahead. If you go off the diving board, I'll come in there and rescue you, And so she had gone off the diving board, and I could see her in there, and she was struggling, and she had gone under, and so I was like, oh, okay, I was a good swimmer. I'd always been, my parents had always taken us, different places to swim and snorkel and skin dive, all that stuff. And so I dove in, and she grabbed me, and she pulled me under. And all I remember is both of us struggling underneath the water. And I remember I could see the people, the other girls, the Girl Scouts and everybody else that was there. They didn't see a thing. They were like zombies walking around the edges of the pool. And I couldn't understand why nobody was stopping to help us. And then the next thing I remember is we were both at the edge of the pool and climbing out. So
it's almost like you got pushed to the edge or something, huh?
Yeah, it was the strangest thing ever. Almost like we both died, and somehow we made it to the edge of the pool. It was just, like I said, that's another one of those images. All of those images are clear as a bell in my mind. It's almost like, okay, here's your last day. There you go.
Right. Is it? Do you get that life flashing before your eyes, or what's that like in those moments when you feel like you're gonna die?
It's just like it happens so quickly. All you're thinking is, okay, there's zombies walking around the edge. And I can't kill them because their brain stem doesn't go through the center anymore or through the back.
That's funny. Yeah, it does feel like we're walking around with a bunch of zombies a lot of times in life. Gosh.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know what to think of it. It's like they talk NPCs, and I'm telling you, that's what it really seems like, NPCs.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Quantum of Conscience, too, and I'll tell you what, that guy really is so intelligent, and he makes a lot of sense to me with what I'm seeing out there in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I would cover that topic a little bit more, but it's like a slippery slope with some people, and you don't want them to think that we're saying don't care about everyone equally, but it does seem like, there is, I think on the most recent video, if anybody that's interested, there's a video called Not Real People, and the channel is Cosmic Agency, and the lady on there claims to be, her name is Gosha. I plan on getting her on the show, but she's trying to get her stuff translated from Spanish to English. But she's got this video. She's been talking to this extraterrestrial lady named Suarez I can't remember her name right offhand. But they've been, instead of channeling her, she's been emailing back and forth with her. And so I know people are like, what, emailing, but when you hear the information, it really resonates with you. Or it did with me anyway. And they were talking about not real people, and they were saying how only 1 in 5 people are actually soul people, and the 4 out of 5 are ran by the matrix that we're in. There's a consciousness for the earth itself, a matrix, and those are running the people, and it's the people that don't really ask questions. They're not sort of truth seekers. You mention ghosts or things like that to them, and they're like, whatever, there's no such thing as ghosts and monsters and all. They don't question anything. They sort of just go with the flow. But there's also real people that don't want to wake up yet. They want the experience of sort of being asleep. So you can't distinguish between, someone who's just wanting to experience duality and not really be awake and have the earth experience, and they're really a soul person from an NPC because they have really similar attributes or whatever. So you have to treat everybody the same. Plus, they were saying how there could be like a soulless individual that becomes a walk-in, like a soul, will step into that empty seater, if you will, and start taking over that life. Or it can be just the exact opposite, like a musician maybe hurts himself and he's not able to do music anymore, and he's having to do this desk job that's just sort of real boring, and he'll decide to leave his body and just let the matrix take over it. So instead of dying, he becomes an NPC. So there's all this transitioning between, the states of being or whatever. But for the most part, it's just background people. Like in a game, they call them NPCs because it makes the situation more real. You're in a crowd of people. It sort of just adds, it's like props in a movie, or, extras in a movie. They just add to the game and make it more realistic. And I really feel like that's what's going on. But as soon as you say that, then people say, well, now, there's an elite mentality going on here, or an us versus them mentality. And I really feel like everybody should be loved and treated the same. But it helps with understanding why people act the way they do. And it helps you feel okay with not trying to wake people up, because it's like, well, they're not meant to wake up, evidently, or they'll wake up when they're supposed to, you know.
Yes. Yeah, and that does help, thinking about it that way, because otherwise you'd be angry at people all the time, and to me, it's just better to think about them as an NPC.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you can be more forgiving and loving to them. Otherwise, I'd be mad all the
time. Exactly. That's why I refer to them as the secret shoppers, because then it sort of puts you on the footing that, okay, so I'm not, whoops, I was pulling up this video to share in the chat to you guys for the not real people. I'll paste this link in here for those who haven't seen it. But yeah, it helps you to realize that, oh, they're meant to trigger you, and it's meant for us to rise above getting triggered, you know, and to, like secret shoppers, you know. When I was a manager at Domino's, we had this one customer, and I was so nice to her. We messed up her pizza. I had no idea she was the secret shopper lady, you know. But I said, I'll remake your pizza, and I'll deliver it myself. And I was super nice to her. And I ended up getting commended or whatever from the corporate office because of the way I treated her, not knowing she was the secret shopper. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I was so nice to that lady. You know, I was nice to everybody, but you know, just realizing it later on that, oh my gosh, she like had to report on me and stuff, you know, made me glad that I treated her so well the way I did, you know. So that's funny though. But yeah, that's how I view them, like secret shoppers of the planet, you know.
And it does seem like that your gut feelings do have a tendency, or your higher self or whatever it is, does seem to have a tendency to help you make those decisions. You know, when you're making a decision to treat somebody a little bit better, it's almost like they know, okay, you be a good girl here, because guess what? You know, something's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you get that instant reward from it too, like just the satisfaction of knowing either the person didn't get under your skin, or you responded in a way that you didn't immediately regret as you walked away and cooled off. Like if they got under your skin and you got upset and then you said something and then you're immediately like, why did I say that? You know, a few minutes later. So yeah, it helps a lot. You know, I've had this has been a learning process with comments and stuff, because a lot of times I'll get triggered and I'll like end up deleting what I said by the time I get to the end of the paragraph and starting over again. Just so I can respond in the most proper way possible, you know, because sometimes you can let people get to you, you know.
And that's true, you know, and I've noticed that on Facebook, you know, I've really toned myself back, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that now my mom is on there.
Yeah. Yeah, totally true. You know, I was like that with my wife's grandma was like that. She was on Facebook, and I'm like, I got to be careful about what I put on there, because she's really religious. And, you know, if I say some of the stuff I'm saying about Jesus, she won't understand, even though she won't realize that he's my hero and that I, you know, love him like I've always loved him. I just view things differently than church tells you, and she's super church, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't post things just for that one person. I didn't want to offend her or have her look down on me or disappoint her in any way, you know. And it's funny how we are like that.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay to be that way, you know. It's like, you know, having loved a lot of older people, I feel like, you know, for me, it's a respect thing. I respect them. I love them. I don't want to hurt them in any way, shape, or form. And, you know, whatever I believe isn't going to matter to them at all. So just, you know, show them the love and the respect that they deserve. I would want anybody out there, and it, you know, it's like driving around. If I get behind an old guy and he's going really slow and everything, I'm just like, dude, you know what? I'm going to be so patient with you, because if you were my dad, I would love it if whoever is behind you would be patient with you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so you have a problem with the driving thing too. That's probably when I get triggered the most. And now that my like daughters are driving and they're like hesitant and they're driving in ways that I would have normally gotten upset 10 years ago if I was behind them and stuff. It definitely helps now that, you know, when you imagine it's your mom or your dad or your daughter or son or something like that, you know, to just be more patient about it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's totally true.
Yeah, and all you got to think about is the fact that, am I really in that big of a hurry? No.
Right. Now I start
You know?
thinking even more deeply about it. And I'm like, well, maybe they're slowing me down to keep me out of some wreck down the road or something. You just never know. So now I just try to go with the flow and not get triggered too much in any way. You know?
Yeah, and that's what it is here too, because everything, it's snow and it's slippery and it's all hills, and so you have to drive so careful over here. And in my opinion, I'm like, nobody's life is worth having to go 5 miles an hour extra. It's
Right.
not worth it.
Yeah.
Take your time.
Yeah, totally. And now I cringe for other drivers. I remember taking that really windy road from Sedona to Flagstaff when I was there. And, I didn't know the road that well, but there were some turns that were like, 10 miles an hour and 15 miles an hour. They're like basically like making a U-turn almost. They're really sharp. And I kept having, it was raining. So I was, I wasn't speeding at all, but I had cars that were getting impatient behind me. And this never happens to me. I'm like always the guy like wanting to pass, but I was just trying to be real careful and not get a wreck, and I got these cars past me. I'm like, man, I don't want them to wreck because they're trying to hurry past me, and then they take that corner too fast, and I don't know. So it's like finding that balance in there, but I totally get it,
Me too. I just, I used to be that stupid soccer mom that had to go 90 miles an hour everywhere I went, and I look back on that, and I'm like, everybody, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I will never do that again.
Now we see younger people doing the same thing, and it helps, though. It helps like that was me. That was me right there. I used to do stuff like that. So it makes you, I guess, more patient with the younger people that do the things you used to do,
Yeah, but you know what? We get to a stoplight and I'm on my motorcycle, Shane, I am going to whoop you.
At least to the speed limit, right?
No speed limit, man.
Oh, man, I'd love to have a bike. I've only got to ride them a few times. There was, I think it was a 700 or 800 midnight special Yamaha that my mom's boyfriend let me ride. That was my first ride around the block, and then my brother got one of those crotch rockets. I think it was a Honda Hurricane, and it was like 1,000 or 1,100 cc's. And man, that thing was so powerful. It felt like it was going to rip you right off of the seat when you twisted the handle, and it was like, oh my gosh. And so I love the feeling on bikes, but at the same time, oh, I forgot, you're a Harley girl, so you're like laughing at the crotch rocket thing, huh?
Yeah, you might beat me out the light, but guess what? By the time you're started, I'm going to pass you.
Right.
Yes.
And look cooler doing it, right?
And the funniest thing ever, whenever I pull up to a light, the only people that ever want to race me are young girls. Is that
Really?
the funniest thing ever?
That is funny.
And then when I pull into a gas station, I always have these little old ladies that come up to me and they always say, oh my God, I wanted to do this my whole life. And it's so nice to see you doing this and I wish I had done it and blah, blah, blah. And I always tell them, it's never too late.
Right. Or hop on, I'll take you for a ride around the block,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've taken men, women, kids, people that are 100 pounds heavier than me, and they all love it. And I'm telling you, anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm still expecting my ride at East City when you ride out there. Definitely take me around the block on a windy road or something. That'd be totally awesome.
Absolutely. You got it, man.
It's been too long. The last time my brother had put some of that Fix-A-Flat stuff in his tire, that oozy stuff, and he goes, hey, you want to drive it and spread that stuff? Because, you're supposed to drive after you put it. I had no idea that tire was going to start shaking like that, and oh my gosh, I started getting cramps in my hips and had to stand up on the bike, and because I was so nervous because it was just shaking all over the place. And yeah, so just so you guys know, never put Fix-A-Flat in a motorcycle tire.
No, never.
It threw
Never,
the
never,
so
never.
far off on it that, oh my gosh, I hit the bottom of the ramp getting on the highway and it just started shaking everywhere and it completely frightened me. That was the last time I was on a bike. I'll ride with you.
That was
That'd be better.
right.
Let me see here if I'm missing anything in the chat. I'm sorry to keep you so long. It's nice to have you off, though. You're usually like working on these shows.
Yeah, and I can lurk when I'm working. I can lurk because I'm kind of there by myself, but I got to pay attention to what's going on around me. So I can have you playing, and I can chat a little bit, but I can't really too much. So
right.
Yeah, for me to have a night off is kind of nice, and this has been a really good chat. I've really enjoyed myself.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, any Mandela effects before you go? Anything new that maybe we haven't heard about, or anything that you've come across?
Not off the top of my head, but I was just wondering if you guys are planning to go to. I saw this on the chat. Any idea when we're going to go to ECETI? I'd like to go too.
Yeah, it's going to be summertime from what everybody's saying. I think we're going to have to actually get a hold of James Gilliland, see if we need to set up our own week or just find a week when like-minded people are going to be there, which is probably pretty much any week anything's going on. But it would probably be easier to join an event that's going to be happening there already rather than having our own event. So I don't know. I don't know how many people they hold and stuff like that. I need to get with James and, of course, Dan from Talk is Cheap. And we'll figure it out. But middle of summer sometime.
Okay. Because there's some other people that are planning that might be coming with me. And so we all need to get our vacation time in. So if we could find out pretty soon.
Yeah.
It would be nice because I'm definitely planning on coming on my bike.
Mm-hmm.
I've never gone on that long of a ride, and I'm just so looking forward to it. But I'd need to take probably at least 2 weeks off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
you don't want to rush something like that.
Heck no, I want to go through and see the what do you call them, the big heads out in the Dakotas.
Yeah, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. The big heads.
Yeah, have you seen the T-shirt with the Mount Rushmore on the front, and then on the back it's got all these naked butts like they're hanging over the mountain, like putting a, it's a pretty funny T-shirt. But yeah, that's another one that's changed. I don't really remember it either way, but yeah, a lot of people remember that's changed, Mount Rushmore. So many different changes. Did you see the one about all of the president heads, and there's like a president head park somewhere with all these like presidential statues? That was weird.
I know, right?
What the heck's up with that? Like we wouldn't have heard about that before. Let me see if I can pull up an image of that. That was really weird. President head park or something?
Yeah, it's crazy. There's so much new stuff. It's like, oh my God. You know, the new parks and the statues and waterfalls and those heads are like crazy.
Yeah, this is really weird because it's just like, wow, I don't know, how could we not know about it?
I know, yeah. How could we ever not know about something like that? Come on. That's crazy.
And they're like falling apart and stuff. Looks kind of creepy.
Yeah, there they are. Wow.
That's just so weird. It's like so many new things. It's like, I don't know. It's like the world's all new again, you know, in many ways.
Right? Yeah. And they, like, Eva was saying that it looks like the Statue of Liberty is ready to walk right off of her Liberty Island. It's not even, she's not even on the right island anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that's weird because, like, I remembered as a kid going over there on the ferry or whatever, and, you know, who wouldn't remember Liberty Island if it's named after the actual statue, you know what I mean? It was like Ellis Island, and we went there from Staten Island or something like that, and so it's just weird that there's a Liberty Island now, and it's technically in New Jersey instead of New York now. That's
Yeah. Yeah, that is not even right.
Yeah. Now some people claim like the hand switch, but I don't really, I can't say one way or the other on that, because that's back to I'm not really paying much attention to stuff, you know.
For me, the hand switch, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I don't think I
definitely
noticed that.
Yeah, and she doesn't even look like herself anymore. She's looks more androgynous, and
That's true. Yeah, very androgynous now. Yeah, she used to be more pretty looking.
And her hair doesn't look right. Yeah, I remember full well that she was holding that torch in her left hand.
Wow.
This doesn't look right to me at all. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it looks like she's like taking a step now. That didn't look like that before.
Like she's going to walk right off of there.
The other thing that's strange about her, that I don't know how many people have heard about it, but you're not allowed to go on the torch anymore. And you haven't been able to, like, all since the early 1900s, since some attack that I'd never even heard of by Germany. Some bomb went off or something and damaged the torch, and now no one's allowed up in it. And before, I remember you could go up in the torch or in the crown, or both.
It was called Black Tom. And it was the Germans that attacked, and I had to read about it, Shane, because I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't remember what year they said that it was, but that would have been in our history books.
Oh,
you know,
for
there
sure.
is no way that would have happened, you know, without us knowing about it.
Let's see, Black Tom explosion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Black
so what
Tom
I remember, like, I definitely don't remember hearing about the attack, but I remember when 9/11 happened, they were saying that it was the first attack since Pearl Harbor, and or the only attack other than Pearl Harbor on the United States soil or something. So.
Yep, exactly right.
So yeah, 1916, they're saying. Black Tom explosion on July 30th, 1916 in New Jersey.
Yep.
German agents to destroy American-made munitions. So that was for World War One. I'm trying to think when, what year was Pearl Harbor?
Oh, I don't remember. But I've asked older people about Black Tom, and nobody remembers that.
Yeah, that's something you definitely remember if you were attacked. Your country was attacked.
Okay, let me see. 1941?
Yeah, 1941.
December 7th, yep.
That's wild.
I can't even believe that.
That's a weird one. And yeah, man, zoomed in on the Statue of Liberty, she almost looks more male than female.
Yeah, very androgynous.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the nose, the bridge of the nose seems really wide. Strangely wide.
And look at her hair.
Yeah. It almost doesn't look real. She even seems like she's like glowing green. Could be the color adjustment on this picture, but way more neon-y looking than I remember.
Eva has pointed out that the colors of her have changed, and that for a while there she was real dark on the backside. Let me see here. I'm looking at images too. Oh, which one was it?
This one looks.
God, there's so many different statues.
Yeah.
I can't think of. She's had so many videos on it now that I can't think of. Oh, and she looks pregnant. That was the other one.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She really looks like she's taking a step on this one.
Yeah, and if you scroll down, yeah, right there, she looks pregnant.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment with these Mandela effects, I tell you what.
You know, I keep thinking that I got to go back and watch a Ghostbusters where they hijacked the Statue of Liberty and they had her walking down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Now look, oh my God, look at that, Shane. There's no way she could step off of that building like she did in the Ghostbusters movie. Now that, yeah, you talk about synchronicities.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, was the pedestal? Because another thing, what was it? I think the Christ the Redeemer one. The pedestal is way taller than it used to be as well. I think I'm trying to figure out which window I'm in here.
And Christ the Redeemer, they said, is just huge now. It never was that big, and it's just so huge that they can't even believe it. And I don't really remember that one as much. But I am pretty sure that it wasn't as big as what it is now. But look at that. There's no way she could step off of there.
Yeah. That's crazy. I've seen a few pictures of the Christ the Redeemer one where it looks, you can't tell if it's the perspective of the camera or what, you know. It's just, because it's, you know, the focal length is a huge thing, but just when you consider the height of it and then the base of it being, let me open this image in another window. Here, open image. It's delayed a little bit, whoops, for you, from what I'm looking at. Oops,
wow, look at that.
That's so gigantic.
No, see, that's I don't remember that being that huge. Not that I knew it that well, but that is, and it's changed too. I don't remember the base of it looking, you know, that's really strange the way, you know, like from the knees down.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that doesn't even look like legs anymore. It just looks like I don't know, Venetian blinds or something. Or louvers.
Yeah.
Looks very
something's
square.
not right there.
That's wild. Yeah, I think, who was it that did a really good one on this? Scarab Performance, I think.
Scarab.
Yeah, he had done a really good one where he was drawing a line and showing how it had moved back into the other section. And from the perspective, it would look from the city like it's the same size because it had moved back and was taller or something like that. I thought he did a really good report on that on one of his videos that I saw before I even knew who he was, really.
Yeah, I did too. I saw that one too. And you know what? We should send him this picture because I think he would freak out again because this has totally changed.
That's amazing. And
it's easy to freak him out.
I really only knew about it from like movies and stuff. Like, I don't know, like 2012, I think that movie had like a big wave overtaking it, knocking it down. And I just remembered it from stuff like that. I've never been there or anything like that to know for sure. But others have.
Yeah, me.
You know?
Yeah, me neither. All I remember is seeing pictures of it, you know, because it was one of the, you know, I don't know what I don't even remember what the 7 wonders of the world were, but they aren't what they are now.
Yeah. See, the base looks way more square than I remember. That even when I just looked at it when I was checking out Scarab's video, I don't think the base of his legs, I don't think his legs look like this here. This is really odd. I'm about to zoom in here on the. That's just odd, isn't it? How square it is?
I hate to say it, but none of it looks the same to me. It looks completely different.
That's really strange. Looks very blocky. It's like a Roblox version of it, the game the kids play these days, where everything's real square, or what's that other one, Minecraft, where everything's square. Looks kind of like that to me. That's weird.
Yeah. It just, none of it looks right. The robes don't look right. The face doesn't look right. The arms don't look right. I don't know if it's just me or what, but it just doesn't look right at all.
Yeah, that's even coming out on this belly more than I remember. It's just strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, I need to send this over to Dan Scarab and see if, like, look, man, look at the base of this. This wasn't like this when you did that video, or it keeps standing out as being odd to me. That's how a lot of the changes are. It's like, I don't remember exactly how it was. I just know it's catching my eye now as looking weird in this area, how square it is at the bottom, where, you know, it must be different or my eyes wouldn't be drawn to it as being really weird. And I was noticing it right as you were saying, the front looking, it almost, I don't know, it's lost its aesthetic appeal, you know, like the wrinkles don't look realistic and like I remembered it.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I noticed too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're discovering stuff live on the air here.
I just wish we'd find some Stouffer's stovetop stuffing.
Yeah, really. That's a pretty big one there for me. Is and I haven't really ever checked the let's see, Stouffer's. Oh, you can see where I've looked for it before. That's one. It's just weird. Never existed.
I told my kids if they could find me some Stouffer's stovetop stuffing, I'd give them $50. That freaks me out, Shane. I went to the store and I was looking for stovetop stuffing, and I was like, all it was Kraft. Kraft. See, there it is, Kraft.
Yeah, and then I'm clicking on this. I'm like, wait, I found some, and then sure enough, never existed.
Never existed. Yep.
That's wild. It's just always been Kraft, which to me was always associated with cheese, not stuffing. I don't even know any other Stouffer's products. Is Stouffer's even around anymore? I'm assuming they are. There's the logo. But it's like,
I don't know.
That was their
That was the
main
only thing that I remembered.
Yeah. And just, you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, it's stuffing, but my mom and dad always made, you know, homemade stuffing. So, or dressing, and it, you know, if we had this, it was not during Thanksgiving, basically. It was just other time just to whip it up with dinner real quick or something. But we really didn't eat it much. But a lot of recipes called for Stouffer's stovetop. And they would always say, add such and such amount of Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. They would say the whole thing in the... I'm sure there's still recipes around that says that, you know. And yet...
I have a recipe, yes. And it's you take chicken and you put it in a... chicken and cream of mushroom soup, and you put it in a casserole dish, and you put the stovetop stuffing on top, and bake it in the oven, and it is absolutely fantabulous. But it was Stouffer's stovetop stuffing.
Yeah.
That's a tongue twister. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. This should really get a lot of people, I would think. I mean...
That's what I thought, yeah.
You would think this would get a lot of people. But here's like, hold on, let's see this old box here. I can't even, man, I wish I could zoom in more on that. And that's the thing when you watch old commercials and stuff like that. And let me see if they, and a lot of the commercials I remember seeing, but they're different, you know. It's like, it was like that with that 80s commercial of, what was it, Nestle's chocolate. Did you see the one? I think I played it. You probably saw that in one of my videos, but the 80s commercial of Nestle's, where the guy actually sings the song. And I remember watching the letters go by, Nestles, and it's like there's no S on the end anymore.
Yeah.
And you can see, I don't want to play it because I'll get a copyright hit for the sound. They won't notice that. But you can see he's spelling it Nestles. And I remember it matching with, you know, the label and the chocolate bar and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. It's just, you know, and you can actually, I think there's a 50s commercial that does the same thing. That's really cool with the guy that, this little Nestle's Quick ventriloquist guy. What's his name? Jimmy Nelson.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing. He even has an S on the shirt.
Jeez.
But yet, the history shows it's never had an S. And he spells it Nestles. Let me see if I can turn on.
I don't understand how people don't see this stuff. I don't get it, you know. Oh, there it is.
Yep, delicious chocolatey flavor Nestle's. He says Nestle's in the commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about to pop across the screen as soon as I turn on the thing for you. But there it is, Nestle's. So
Yep.
that's a trip, man. And it's like, there's enough proof out there, I feel like, that, you know, anybody that wants to consider it. But then, you know, like I've said, and I even put this in the book, it's like a double-edged sword. It's for people that don't believe it's happening. It's like, oh, that's why everyone's confused, you know. You can't win.
I know.
It's funny.
Yeah, that makes me crazy when they're like, oh, you just don't remember it. Yeah, okay. No, you don't remember it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to keep you longer than you can stick around, but it looks like the site's still down. So we can make this the Bikerbabe show this time. I mean, I've been trying to get you on for a while. It seems like I tricked you into this whole thing, but I've checked the website a few times and it's still down. I promise I wasn't trying to trick you into this.
Sure.
All right, so I think it's story time again, unless you got to go, because
no, I'm fine. I'm okay.
I'm trying to think. Didn't you have one in the car that was interesting, or am I thinking of? You know who else has had some great stories is Diane, and I'm going to see this weekend. She's got the lake house, and she had some with a car and an alien. But I thought you had one similar, like where you were driving and it seemed like you were saved from an accident or something like that.
No, that wasn't me. No. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I did have a BQH session.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because for anybody that doesn't know, you can do that. I recently did one with my wife. She was my second one I've done, but you can learn how to do it for like $300 now. And it's like, if somebody in the family learns how to do it, then everybody can get a session for about the same price as you'd pay for, you know, the session itself. Somebody can learn how to do it, or two people can take it together and learn how to do it and print out all the induction things or whatever. But my wife, it was so cool. She was able to talk to her grandma and get advice from her grandma that died last year. It was a real touching moment for her to, you know, I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. It was the second one I did. I'm going to have Candace back on. But how did your BQH session go?
It was, well, let me put it this way. I was called into it. Basically, the lady that did my QHHT had a message from Arcturian that wanted to talk to me. How cool is that?
So you had a QHHT session, and then you got called back from...
Yeah, the girl, I stayed in touch with the girl that did my QHHT, and she said she had been getting these messages from Arcturian that wanted to talk to me.
That is so freaking cool, man.
Oh, that was so cool, let me tell you.
Yeah. So how did that go?
And that went amazing. So I went for the BQH, and what happened was once I went under, and I immediately popped into a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I started talking to this blue person that was in the ship, and it was my brother. He had sent a message to this lady that was doing my BQH that he wanted to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, Shane, it was so cool. I'm trying to figure out which part to tell you first.
Now, your brother, did he pass away?
No, this was my brother from my alien ship, my Arcturian
okay.
brother.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking maybe you had a brother that passed away and he was talking to you that way. But this is actually like your star family brother. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I could see myself on the ship, and I was a young child,
Mm-hmm.
and she went through the whole process of look at yourself, what do you look like? And I was blue and I had a big head and, you know, and it's so funny because I always tell people you have a big fat head, and I had a big fat head. And so I was a child on the ship, and I had a pet. And this pet, and the more I listened to my session, the clearer I could see my pet. He sat on my arm, and he looked like a little miniature dragon. He was all rainbow colors.
Wow.
And he had a fat little body, and he had little hands that he hung onto my arm, and a long tail, and he had wings. He could fly, but he didn't really want to. He just wanted to hang out with me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a long neck, and he had a dragony-like looking face,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually smiled like a human.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and he would sing to me all the time. And so I'm walking around the ship with this little creature, and the brother that wanted to contact me, I'm not sure exactly 100% what the message was,
Mm-hmm.
but just that I was on the right path and I'm doing the right thing and to keep on doing what I'm doing. And he popped into my session several times. And basically to let me know that, you know, just keep on going, you're okay, everything's all right. At one point I was once again, I was a child, and I was walking down a street, and there were street lights, and there was a fence along the side, and I was dressed like Pippi Longstockings, and I was going to act in a play. And I went through the whole process of walking and getting up on the stage, and we were performing for a whole group of people, and all of a sudden there was this shadowy figure, and he stood in front of me and told me, you know, he had this cape and hood and all this stuff on, and he was telling me, you're doing the right thing. And then all of a sudden I was pulled right out of there, and I was shot up into the sky, and that was my brother that was talking to me, that was in the cape and the hood, and I don't know the significance of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was all very strange, and then I was pulled back up into the ship again. And in the ship, I was older, and we were at the edge of the universe, and we were looking at Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been verified on several different sites, and I was sent down to the surface to see what was going on down there, and there was a city down there that was just completely black. Mm-hmm. It had gotten burned up, blown up, whatever it was, and I got back up into the ship, and I was reporting on what I saw when I was down there. I was some kind of a, you know, reporter or whatever, and from what I understand, I'm not the only one that has seen that there used to be a civilization on Venus, and that it was destroyed, and it was destroyed by the reptilians, and that's what came out in my session, was that I saw this, and I reported that the reptilians had done this, and that there was going to be retribution.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was reporting in my ship, I was back in that same ship with all the same people, and it was a whole group of people, and they were all my family, and we were all blue. We all had the big heads and the big eyes, and the woman that I was reporting to was actually the woman that was doing my session.
Oh, wow.
And so there's connections. When you start connecting with people in your network, and there's a reason why you're hooking up with them, and whether you have something in the future or something in the past, or your ET connection or whatever it is, you know, there's a reason why you're with the people that you're with, you know.
I agree with that for sure.
Because part of my message was that my family that I have here was my family that I had there on the ship. And what a beautiful place to be. I want to go there. I want to go back. I want to be on that ship. It was so, the feeling there was like nothing that you could feel here.
Wow.
Even though, you know, it was sparse and you could see there was controls, you could see the big windows and see out and actually see planets and see space and see all that stuff.
Yeah.
The feeling of warmth and family and being where I needed to be was so overwhelming that when I listen to it again, I cry. You know?
Oh yeah. Let me ask you this: were you drawn to that movie Avatar with the blue people in it, or have you seen it?
I was. That is my favorite movie, Shane.
Me too. I was so drawn to that. I saw it 3 times at the theater. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I even started college after that to learn how to do. I'm like, I've got to learn how to create these worlds and stuff, and because it was just so amazing that it was everything you saw. Although it looked photorealistic or whatever, it was, and all the people are in this amazing place. It was all created in a computer-generated world or whatever. And I was like, I've got to learn how to do this and create this. And I don't know, it was this longing inside of me from that movie that really changed the course of my life in a big way. It really led me to where I am right now. In so many ways. I think that movie has been that way for a lot of people, because some people watching, they're like, I don't see what the big deal is. Why did everybody make a big deal out of it? I wasted $8 going to the movie and watching this because everybody made a huge deal out of it, and it did really well for a reason, and I think it activated a lot of people. I feel like it activated me, at least on some level, when I saw it, and there was just something home-like about it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's exactly how I felt. I was, you know, watching that movie and watching the glowing plant life. I felt like I was like that was so familiar to me.
Yeah.
The tree, the big hanging willow tree. I've always had this connection with willow trees, and I felt like that. Yeah, like that. I wanted to go there so bad.
Yeah. I guess that's what I felt like. That made me want to go to school and learn how to do it. I'm like, I've got to learn how to create this place. And here, let me pull up some images for you guys. I don't know how many people are saying they haven't had a chance to watch it or whatever, but for me, it was such a magical movie. And the glowing, I don't know if you want to call them insects or whatever they were, that all of that was just something so cool about it, you know, and just amazing. Oh, there's an Avatar ride, I see, at somewhere. The Navi River Journey.
Another strange thing about it is that, like, I don't want to cut my hair after watching that, too.
Yeah.
So every once in a while I'll cut, like, 6 inches off, but most of the time I've got it's growing right down to my rear end, you know, because I feel like I can't cut it like it needs to be long for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see them, you know, they're connecting up with the tree with that ponytail in the back, and for me that just makes sense, you know.
Mm-hmm. And with the animals they ride too, right? Isn't that their hair as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And you know, look at me. I rode horse, and now I've got the motorcycle, and I've always I don't know, I just associated with this a lot.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's been just one of those things that I think a lot of, if you haven't seen it, I would say, you guys, you got to watch it. It's, and I used to think, I'm like, I guess I pumped it up too big, and the person had unrealistic expectations of the movie, but I didn't feel like you could do that with it. I felt like it was so good, you could say it's awesome, and then people wouldn't be let down when they watch it. So that was actually one of the movies I often think of when people, because I was surprised there was people that could watch it and not enjoy it. And I'm like, man, did I just pump it up so much that they had unrealistic expectations? But yeah, I saw it 3 times in 3D. I paid for the extra thing because I wanted to feel like I was there, you know?
Yeah. But you know what? It's what's so odd is I have family members that are really, you know, into anything that's, you know, space age or whatever, and they hate the movie. And I'm like, how could you hate that movie? That is the most beautiful movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, either it's got to be almost like a synchronicity, like something, someplace there's something that you've been there before or something. I don't know how to even describe it.
Yeah, it just touches you deeply when you watch it. For me, it did. It was, I don't know. Even looking at these pictures, I'm like, I gotta go watch it again. It's like hard to look at. It's making me want to go see it again. I'm like, it's been a long time, and to be like new again. But yeah, it was awesome. And I think even like not even the world they're in and all that, but just the idea of them going in this pod and then emerging on the other side kind of brings that whole idea of a simulation, or the way that they say we're in the simulation or whatever. You can sort of imagine waking up, because what he would do is he'd go to sleep as the avatar, then he'd wake up out of that pod thing and have to eat and nourish his real body and all that. And is that sort of what's happening when we go to sleep at night and we dream that we're popping out somewhere else and we can't really remember that? I think there's a lot of parallels.
And I wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder, because I've had dreams where I've been on alien worlds and talking to somebody, and I don't remember what we said, but I remember looking and thinking, okay, this is one of my family, and we're having a conversation, and it's a totally alien world. I'm talking to an alien, and I wake up and I go, what?
Yeah,
so
I've had the ones where I dream we're training to learn how to fly and things like that. So.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah. But man, I'd love to go to this place. It makes me feel homesick, and I can't even remember what home is. But I know.
Yeah, me too. Yep. Yeah, that ship made me homesick, and my little dragon creature, when I think about it, it makes me cry.
Oh, I know. When you were just talking about that, I'm like, I played this game Fortnite with my son, and they've got this little thing that looks like what you kind of explained or whatever, and he like rides around in the backpack, and he like reacts to what's going on. But I was and they look like a little baby dragon, really cute and stuff, and I can that's the kind of things you don't really think about when you imagine just a completely different world, where things are just completely different. And to have a little pet dragon, that sounds so cool, and to have it singing to you and all that, that's so awesome. That's so freaking awesome. Like, man, I want to go there.
Right? Yeah, I'm in tears when I think about them. I can't. I had to stop listening to my session, because really you're supposed to listen to them several times, after you have your session. And I had to stop listening to it because I got too emotional.
Yeah. I heard that's why they don't take us around on trips more. It's like, because if they do, people don't want to come back. They're like, please don't make me go back. But I can imagine it from what you're saying. You just had this session and you felt that way. I don't want to wake up.
Yes. Right, exactly. And I had to stop the session early, even though I was under and I was kind of out of it and everything. We were getting to the healing part, and I had to stop it because you know how you have that steady rush of, what do you call it, tingling that goes through your body? I had it through my whole session, the whole thing. And to the point where after an hour and a half, I was so exhausted. I had to tell my practitioner, I have to stop. I can't continue. I'm done. This body is totally exhausted. I just didn't even, I couldn't have gone on another 5 minutes. She had to pull me out of it quick because I was done.
Wow. That reminds me of the Law of One lady, Carla, I can't think of her name, but her body would get exhausted from having that connection. So you didn't get that during your QHHT session, huh?
No, not like this. This was unreal. It was just a steady, from the minute I looked at the plane of existence from the beginning, right from the beginning, I knew right away where I was. I knew what was going on, and my body knew it. My whole body just started with that whole rush of tingling, and I had that through the entire session. I just, probably within the first hour, I was so exhausted. I couldn't hardly even think anymore. So she she wrapped me up pretty quickly, you know, when I finally mentioned that, you know, I'm kind of at the end of my rope. I can't keep doing this. So, you know.
So was it, do you feel like you got better information from the BQH than the QHHT?
I would say that, yeah, I did.
It was a much more intense, sounds way more intense with the, because, you know, you have people that say that, no, you've got to do it in person. There's no way to really get the connection over. And I'm like, I don't know. Technology's good enough now that it's not like if it gets, I don't know. I see it as an obstacle that really doesn't exist, you know, and that I hear about people having wonderful experiences over the internet doing a BQH session. And so I don't see it as something people should be concerned about, you know. It hasn't been that way for me anyway.
Well, just a heads up for you, Shane. I did my BQH in person because she just lived. Yeah, she only lives a couple miles away from me.
Okay, well, what was the when you compare the inductions, like, were they just different but the same, or what did you feel like with that? I want to say the BQH was probably better. Mm-hmm.
Cool. It's really hard for me to say because both of my sessions were just awesome.
Right.
And I would say the second one was more of a, what do you call it? Where somebody else, it almost seems like somebody else was controlling it.
Mm.
I don't know how to describe it. The first one I felt like was my higher self, and the second one I think was a helper.
Right. That makes sense.
And the helper was, he popped in right at the end, and I could see him.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked like that weird little guy off of Beetlejuice at the end that was marrying them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like kind of like he led the whole session. Like he showed me what I needed to see. And in the first session, I feel like it was more like my higher self, and that the helper popped in at the end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of like you were summoned the second time, so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they initiated it rather than you did, like you did on the first one.
Exactly. Yes.
And for me, both the BQ8 sessions I gave were locally too, in the same room, so I haven't had the experience of doing anything over the internet yet myself. But I know in person it works great, and I have everything printed out, so if the power goes off or something like that, it won't stop the process. It'll stop the recorders, but I like having the paper there. But a lot of it, you kind of use your intuition as you're guided along, because I've already noticed with the two sessions I did that everyone's experience is so different that you really have to just sort of use your intuition once you get to that certain point where they're seeing things, and you're just having to ask questions and help them explain what they're seeing so that they have it later to look back on, you know. It's fun though. I think it's a great tool.
It is. It is a great tool. And right at the end of my session, I got probably the biggest message that I needed to get. And that was the fact that they told me I'm a gatekeeper.
Oh, wow.
And literally a gatekeeper, that there is a portal in this area someplace that I'm going to be part of the gatekeeper team or whatever it is that I won't go into a lot of details. I'll tell you later, but that there is a portal up here, and that I'm going to be part of that. And, you know, basically we're all warriors, and we're here to protect and help all the other people that aren't awake yet.
Yeah. And that kind of goes along with my most recent, you know, because I notice things about my logo and my name all the time, and it's constantly evolving. I get more meaning out of it, even though I made it like, you know, I thought I just made it, you know, up or whatever. But I saw the most recent vision I got was sort of helping people over the fence. Like I'm there on the fence, helping people out of like one area into another area, helping them transition or whatever. So that sounds like that whole gate thing that you're talking about. That's cool.
Absolutely, and I know you are. I know you are because I was drawn to you for a reason when I first found your channel, and basically I was told that, I don't know if I was told or it was just me or what it was, but spill my guts to this guy. This guy needs to know. This guy is going places. This guy is important. This guy is some kind of an angel, or I'm not exactly sure, where you are on that. Usually I can pick out people that are either an angel or what they are. There's certain people in our group that I picked out that are, I know 3 of them right now off the top of my head that are flat out angels.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shown that you are so important.
Oh, that's so sweet. Maybe we're all from the Blue People family or something. Who knows, right? That's weird that we were both drawn to that. Yeah, it's weird that we were all drawn to that movie and it like activated us and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and people will call me a teacher and things like that. I'm like, no, I don't feel like a teacher. I'm just like everybody's joining me on my journey and stuff. I don't really think of myself that way, but I'm glad that you feel that way. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a leader or a teacher or exactly what it is, but the message I was getting was that you are incredibly important.
Wow.
So we need you. You need to be there. You need to be doing what you're doing, and you're doing an awesome job. So.
Well, I'm honored
to
be in this thing. This is really. This is like, I don't know, it's like I never really had a purpose like I do now, so I feel like I'm in my groove, you know what I mean? I'm totally happy doing this, and, I'm just enjoying it more and more all the time, put it that way.
Yeah, you're perfect for this. Yeah, we needed you. Like, you can't even imagine. You are, my brain won't come up with it, but you are the person that we need to go to. All of us normal, well, I don't know if you call us normal or us awakening people, need to find you, and you're like somebody just wrote, Shane is like a big brother.
Yeah.
But you're more than a big brother. You're
I feel like a connecting node, like I don't know. I feel like the meetup place or something more than, it's like, hey, if something happens, show up at Shane's house or something. You know what I mean? I feel like it's sort of more like that. Like it's the divine gathering this has all become from. For me, it was like the Mandela effect kind of started this whole thing, and the Mandela effect affecting all these other people. And it's like, it was sort of our, like, the alarm going off, and we're like showing up to do what we were supposed to do, and some of us not even realizing, like, oh, I didn't even realize I had a job to do here and stuff. And now we're like gathering together and we're meeting each other and doing it. That's why I think this weekend is so huge, and East City is going to be huge. And I think we need to start meeting all over, like you can organize one up in the Michigan area if you ever wanted to, just something local, and then I could get the word out and stuff, because I think everybody needs to start gathering, in their areas, and then when we come to East City, we'll at least know the people from our areas that we've already met up with. I think that'd be cool.
Yes, my BQH lady, my practitioner, she's tried to set up different gatherings up here, but it's really difficult to get people together in this area because they're so widespread.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, we have a few guys from Wisconsin that were interested in coming, but as soon as they can, get their schedules arranged or get their lives arranged to the point where they can all meet up, we're going to all meet up in maybe the Marquette area, which is centralized in the Michigan. It's centralized in the middle of upper Michigan, and yet it's still accessible to, like, northern Wisconsin.
Right. That'd be cool.
So,
and the people from the southern part of your state, the other part of it, the glove or the mitten or whatever you call it.
They're farther away. They're actually farther away than it would be Wisconsin.
It's almost probably better to have a meetup in the mitten than for those people over there, huh?
Maybe by the bridge.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. pork chop game just said that they're only a few hours away. So.
Yeah, and I know there's. I'm from St. Louis. I could probably make it up there for one up in that area since I was born and raised there, and I know Dustin the Wind's from there, and a few other people are from there. I can't remember all their names right offhand, but that would probably be a good meetup spot. That would be weird coming to my hometown where I get all this family and meeting a different family there. You know what I mean? Want to try to slip in and out without my real family seeing me.
Where's your hometown, Shane?
What's that?
Where's your hometown?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, well, this is Michigan.
Right. No, I was just talking about there's a few people in the group here from the St. Louis area that it's strange that they're from where I used to live, you know, my whole life. And they need to have a meetup there that I could probably make it up there too. Probably a few of us from this Tulsa area could come up to that one. It's not.
I have a girlfriend that lives in Tulsa. I've thought about coming down to see you down there.
Yeah, you should.
I should, yes.
You might be able to, it's way out of the way for ECETI, but, you know, if you gave yourself enough time, you could probably cruise down, and I won't want to ride all the way up there with you. That's a long ride. But
I know, right?
Yeah.
But
it gets pretty rough on the butt after a while, so you want to stretch it out. But there's enough cool places on the way. Stop and chill out, you know.
Well, one way or the other, we're going to meet up, Shane. I know that. I can see it in our future.
For sure.
So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I guess we can wrap this up. Yeah, Kate is in St. Louis, she's saying. And like I said, Dustin the Wind, and who else? Somebody always talks to me from there. I can't remember their name, but yeah, I'm going to Austin tomorrow, and that's actually a little further than it would be for me to go up to St. Louis. That's why I say that it really wouldn't be that big of a drive. And, you know, I'm sure there's people in Springfield and Kansas City, Missouri that could drive over there and have a big, probably dozen or so people meet up there or whatever. But yeah, I guess we can wrap this up, Bikerbabe, and I'll just make this the Bikerbabe show this week. And I haven't checked to see, but it's a little late now to try to start taking calls if they are back online. Yeah, they're still down anyway, so.
Yeah, well, this was great. I really enjoyed myself. That was a great talk.
Yeah, it was fun, and I hope you don't feel like I tricked you into this whole thing. It was the universe, okay? Don't blame me. It was the Star family. And on some levels, I feel like that. You know, there's our blue family up there smiling that they manipulated this into happening. But this is cool. I'm glad I've been trying to get you on for weeks again, so this was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think you're right about that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, lots of love to you, Bikerbabe. I appreciate all that you do and just being here. I see you around on all the other channels, and, you know, you might not be the person that's on the screen all the time, but I see you around doing your part to help connect and love people and all that stuff, so I appreciate that.
Right on, yeah. Thank you so much for everything you do, Shane. Much appreciated.
No, Ronnie changed their name. Ronnie and VA. Thank you so much, Ronnie. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
All right. Well, I guess I'll talk to you next year, Bikerbabe.
All right. Great talking to you, Shane. Thank you.
Nice talking to you, too. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lots of love to everybody in the chat, and we'll see you on the next one. I will get some footage and while I'm there on the trip and report into you guys. So until then, have a good one.
If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.